Hey guys, Perry here with a brand new exclusive Collider interview from D23. I am here with some of the team behind Vader Immortal. You guys know we love that game over at Collider, and episode 2 is coming out super soon, so I'm very excited to get to catch up with you guys. First question I have is, after episode 1, is there anything about the fan response that you took with you into episode 2?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, the fan response was really great to see, to be honest. And we used episode 1 in a way to set the scene, set the backstory. Episode 2, we get to interact with the world a little bit more, and it's a little bit more action-paced and fast-paced.
Based on what we just saw of the Dojo 2, it looks like it's a lot more action. So what's it been like incorporating the use of Force abilities, especially with all the haptics? Because, I mean, I didn't feel it for myself watching that clip, but I almost can get that sensation without even having the headset on.
Yeah, it's been stupid amounts of fun, right? And so this is something that we've been dreaming about since kind of the inception of even ILMX Labs. So getting to go in there and actually use, and it's all on a single button, by the way, but being able to pick up things with the Force and throw it, and as soon as you start chucking that lightsaber, I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, and haptics everywhere, audio everywhere, all the things. It's super fun.
So the chucking of the lightsaber looks super cool, but I did hear that that's only in the dojo part and not in the actual episode. I'm just curious what influenced that decision.
Well, so the dojo is not canon, right? It's really just a fun side experience. So when you're done with this, beautifully handcrafted story, now you can jump into just this over-the-top action experience. So that's why we have different rewards with different sabers that aren't in canon. So in that experience, we wanted to just feel the full power of the Force.
Oh, that's so interesting, especially from the story group perspective. Can you tell me about the conversations you guys had early on as far as deciding what could and couldn't be canon and what went into the Dojo part?
It was almost freeing because, typically when we're telling a story experience, we have to be very precious about things like, whose lightsaber hilt can be where. But since this one, we kind of looked at it as more of just a fun arcade mode, we were allowed to do, like actually use Anakin's lightsaber or have rewards that are other people's lightsabers, different colored, crystals, things like that, if it was a story, like it was part of the story mode, we would have to then come up with a story of how the crystals got there or where those lightsabers came from. But, with Dojo, it allowed us to just kind of be free and have fun.
Is there anything else specific to the Dojo that's Dojo only and not canon that I might have missed so far?
Oh my, yeah. I mean, we've got all kinds of weird droids in there that aren't canon yet.
Okay.
We've got some cool creatures that are showing up. Actually, those might be canon now. Yeah. There's tons of different things that we're playing with in that space. And I think another big part of it really is just allowing us to say, hey, you've got this really nice chunk of story experience, but we can really extend out the amount of time that you're engaging with this thing, with the dojo. And I think there's hours of fun in the dojo. So.
Speaking of creatures, I got to look at the dark gas. So can you tell me a little bit about developing that?
Oh, yeah. So, of course, when we sat down to do this, we were like, okay, what sort of things would we like to do in Star Wars? And, of course, fighting a Rancor would be pretty cool, right? So we actually came up with this creature, the Dark Gas, which is like a Rancor, but it's adapted. It's sort of, it's crawling around in the tunnels of Mustafar. It's a lot more agile, and so it can climb up and down, and so it's multi-limbed and that sort of thing. But it was a great chance to really play with the fact that in virtual reality, scale comes across like you can't imagine, and so having a Rancor roar, the Dark Gas roaring in your face is pretty compelling, shall we say, and scary.
It looked incredible. Matt, from the story perspective, I'm curious, is there anything early on before you got into VR that you thought you were never going to be capable of in the world of Star Wars that VR kind of paved the way to for you?
I think scale, like Ben said, is really the big thing because Star Wars has always been about scale, and you see it in the films, but I don't think it really comes across when you're just, sitting in a theater or, sitting at home, where virtual reality, exactly how tall you are in the space, so you kind of have that natural perspective of like, whoa, that the Dark Gas is huge, or I'm in a massive fortress, or I'm in a tiny room. However you want to play with space, you can, and you really can't do that in anything but VR.
Early on, was there ever any discussion about the accessibility of VR? Because originally when everyone around me was getting into it, I'm like, well, I can't put that in my house. I don't have space for sensors. And now that we have the Quest, that kind of changed the game for me. So when you guys were developing this idea, was there ever any concern about making it canon because everybody out there can't really get it yet?
Not from a story perspective, because, that's just sort of the nature of any storytelling. There are some things that people can't get. If you want to play a console game, you have to own the console. So I don't think we thought about it from that way. There's just always going to be those types of experiences, but it's definitely something that was considered, on the tech side.
And in terms of the story, we were like, okay, what sort of story is best told in virtual reality? And this opportunity to make you part of the story was a really key part that is somewhat unique to this, and the way you can interact with the characters and get the feeling that you're seeing something that you normally wouldn't be able to see was something we really tried to build into it.
I always love hearing about how you guys settle on a particular title, so I am curious why Vader Immortal, and were there any alt titles that you guys tossed around at the beginning?
Oh, that was interesting. I have to say, when we found Vader Immortal, that was just so perfect. I mean, it just really, it was great. It was that aha, yeah, that was it instantly.
Yeah,
so
Darth
we
Vader
did throw a lot around though, but
yeah, Darth Vader Dinner Party, I think, was the first name, and then we pivoted. My dinner with Darth.
Yeah. Weekend at Annie's. That's right.
I feel like those little the kid books where they'll put a more childlike twist on something. I feel like I would probably read that if that existed.
Yeah.
So episode 1 was super heavy with using the lightsaber. Episode 2 is going to be with Force abilities. Is there any tease you can give with episode 3 as far as what is going to differentiate that from what we're getting in this one?
Episode 2 will give a tease about what difference with episode 3. At the end, you get a sense of what's coming with episode 3.
Okay, I like the sound of that. What is your timeline like for something like this? Also because, I cover a lot of movies and TV, and I always hear about, like when you pitch episode 1, you have to have the plan for however many episodes you're going to have thereafter. So did you know from day 1 that this was going to be a 3-episode experience?
Not from day one. I mean, day one, we didn't really know what the experience was going to be. It was really just, what can we do that's a cool Star Wars story in VR?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because when we started out, we were like, and the experience was actually a little more passive, more fly on the wall. We're like, wow, people are going to get uncomfortable after 12 minutes. We can't tell a story longer than that. And of course, now everyone's like, oh, we wish it were longer. So I was like, okay.
That is a true thing. I was trying to, I watched a full episode of Black Mirror with an Oculus headset on, and you're okay.
Yeah,
you can sit
okay.
there and
You
play
are
for a
okay.
while.
That just shows how long we've been working on it, that now we know.
We've also just learned so much about accessibility and simulation sickness and things like that to make sure that we can design around issues that you might have in VR.
I feel like I have to ask for a pointer. What's one thing you learned about simulation sickness that everyone should have in mind?
Oh my gosh, there's a couple of things. Movement, if you're just moving forward and looking around, can be really, really sickening for some people. Other people not. So for me, I get it like that. So it's all about teleporting. If I've got a lot of things that are moving by me.
Test dummy.
Yeah, I'm
We
the
basically,
canary.
have you played this bit yet, Jose?
Yeah, and I'll be like, please, the end of the day, because otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, we put in a lot of work to make sure that we're really keeping it comfortable.
To wrap up here, just for fun, if you got the opportunity to make another game after you're finished with Vader Immortal, what character would you choose, or what place would you want to explore?
I can't say anything, can I?
Oh.
I don't know what the rules are.
He knows. We've thrown all sorts of ideas around about even follow-ups to this, and you can imagine what the characters are.
I definitely think, being Wicket, on Forest Moon of Endor, this is the next big. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
You're joking, but I would play
I'd
and
be all
watch
over
all
that.
these
I'd
things
be
that
all
you're
over that.
pitching.
Yeah, let's do these. Sure, Matt.
My default is always Dr. Aphra. So.
Okay. That is a perfectly fine default to have. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on episode 1. Cannot wait to play episode 2 in full. Before you leave, please like and share this interview and stay tuned because we're going to have more D23 and Vader Immortal coverage coming your way real soon.